Most golfers have no idea how their grip relates to the club face at the top of the backswing. There's 1,000 different ways to hold the golf club, from strong to neutral to weak, and there's 1,000 different wrist angles we can have at the top. I'm here to tell you that we need to match those up appropriately, and we've got a drill that's going to solve all that for you today, and it's simpler than you might think. If this is your first time here, hit the subscribe button so you do not miss any videos that I post, so you can learn how to play smarter and better golf every single week. Let's get down to work. All right, so to understand the grip and the lead wrist at the top, we need to have an understanding that for the most part, most amateur golfers need to have a fairly neutral club face at the top to maybe slightly strong. What I tend to see is a mismatch of the grip and the face at the top, and we're going to go through the 3 types of grips and the 3 types of mismatches at the top you're going to see. So the most common grip I see on my lesson tee is a stronger lead hand grip. A strong grip is when that lead hand, or the left hand for a right-handed golfer, which probably 90% of you are, you put that hand on the golf club and your thumb and your index finger make a little V, and it points over to this right shoulder. The more it points to that right shoulder, or even past it, the more strong that becomes. Now, with that said, that grip is going to start with a little bit of cupping here in that lead wrist. The face is going to be very neutral at address. We got a little bit of cupping, we've got a strong lead wrist, strong lead hand. The trail hand is going to be a little bit tricky. So what I tend to see is golfers with a strong lead hand tend to almost over strengthen the trail hand. So what you're going to find is that right hand will go more under the club. You'll almost see like it looks like I'm cradling the club from underneath, almost like a hot dog bun, right? So it's underneath here. And as golfers take this club back, their tendency when they have that strong lead hand is to take it back, and they actually take that little bit of cupping out of their lead wrist and they flatten it, because they've been told forever, hey, I need to flatten my left wrist. Well, guess what? Unfortunately, with that strong lead hand, you start to flatten that lead wrist and you're going to have way less loft on that 7-iron than you could possibly imagine. So someone that has too much lead wrist flattening with a strong grip is going to hit a lot of shots that will go too far to the left. They'll have too much hook. That one just hooked off the planet. They're also going to have a lot of toe shots because they're going to have the tendency to want to extend early. So if I don't have any loft, I'm going to try to create loft by standing up, extending, raising the handle a bunch. This is the guy that hits all those toe snap hooks on the golf course, and it's not a whole lot of fun. When we get to our drill, we're going to figure out how to maintain some of that cup in that lead wrist so you can maintain that neutral face angle at the top. The next type of grip is the neutral grip. We call this kind of the Adam Scott grip. So when you put your lead hand on the golf club, you're going to see maybe 1, 2 knuckles here, and that trail hand for most neutral gripped players will kind of match up and feel like it almost works on opposite sides of the shaft. When players with neutral grips take it back, I would hope to see a fairly neutral club face with a very neutral lead wrist at the top. What I don't want to see, and I see this quite a bit out of the neutral grip players, is they will actually take the club back and they'll flex it a little bit to either get it more shut, or conversely, they try to get more out of that golf swing and they hinge it more and they get a little bit of a cupping action here. So you go from flexed to cupped, one or the other. Both of those are very, very poor options. If I'm going to pick one, I'd pick a little bit flexed like this, so the face is a little bit shut. But again, when we get to our drill, what we're going to see is there's a very specific way to get a neutral club face at the top with that lead wrist being flat. And the last grip, which I actually kind of think is the hardest of all the grips, but has been kind of all the rage with a bunch of players doing it, specifically the John Rahms of the world, is the weak lead hand. And what you're going to see is of that weak lead hand player is you're going to see them have what feels like probably the most open face if they keep the lead wrist fairly neutral. So that face is very open at the top. So they need to flex it the most. The trail hand for this weak lead hand grip is generally going to be a little bit more on top of the golf club, which is going to help them try to flex it a bunch. So if you notice, the tendency of all these grips is not matching up their lead hand grips to the proper wrist position at the top. Now, it's not a tried and true fact that they all need to be in a certain way, but this is going to help you significantly match up the club face on the way down to make your life a heck of a lot easier when you go to play and practice your golf swing. All right, now here comes the fun part, and I'm gonna guess you've seen this specific drill before. Now, I've got a very run-of-the-mill clothes hanger. I prefer the plastic ones because they're a little bit easier to hold on to. But what I need you to do is I need you, number one, to identify what grip it is that you have. And we're gonna go through all three again and how to do this properly. So for that strong grip player, here's what I'm gonna have you do. I'm gonna have you, number one, set up as you normally would, and that lead hand is gonna go on the golf club, and that clothes hanger is gonna be in your lead hand as well. So you're gonna set up as you normally do. You're gonna put your trail hand on, and it's kind of hard to hit golf balls with this, but just bear with me here, you ready? So if we set up with our strong lead hand, this strong gripped player, when they take that club back, they don't want that clothes hanger flexing against their lead wrist. What I wanna see of that is I wanna see this clothes hanger actually touching the trail wrist. That probably is a much different thing than what you've ever been told. My strong grip players need to have some amount of cupping in that lead wrist so they can keep the ball on the planet and hit it high enough to play golf. So what that's gonna look like, we're gonna go slow a few times, and you're gonna watch me struggle to maintain this coat hanger in here. We're gonna go really slow. We wanna see that coat hanger hit the trail wrist. There we go. And what you're gonna notice is every time I hit a golf ball with this hanger, the ball's gonna probably, for me, go a little bit higher and a little bit to the right. Let's do one more here. Here we go. It goes on the golf club. Ideally, at address, it kind of goes between the two wrists. It's not a perfect science, but here we go. Let's do it one more time. We take it back. There's some cup in my lead wrist. Here we go. And those were actually very, very good shots directly off the center of the club face. Now, if you were to watch, if I were to do that the incorrect way, here we go. I hold on to my golf club, and then I flex it into my lead wrist. I hit it right off the toe, hit it off the bottom of the face, and I had the most shut club face at the top. So for my neutral grip players, what I'm gonna have you do is put it on the golf club again, hold on to it the same way you normally would, and I want you to put it right on your lead forearm. When you take it back, I want you to feel like you have it on your lead forearm, but not flexing it harder into it. I also don't want to see it hitting the trail forearm. I want to see this thing directly up against the lead forearm. So you have the most neutral club face at the top with a flat left wrist, so you can hit shots that look like this. Now it's a little bit closer to how I hit golf balls, but that went very, very straight. I had a very square club face, and when I say square, I mean it was very square to my lead wrist. My face and my golf club were very square to each other. We can also say it's square to the shaft, so from a down the line camera angle, you notice how the toe of the club is not under the shaft or too far above the shaft. We can refer to it as open or close based on those two things. Now, lastly, we've got my weak gripped player. I think this is the hardest way to play golf for most amateur golfers, but there's a way we can do this. So for my weak gripped player, you're actually gonna start with this clothes hanger touching your trail forearm at address. So you can see it's touching my trail forearm. This is really hard for me to do. And as you take the club back, what I want from you, I want it to go from trail forearm to lead forearm. You're gonna see my club face is actually a little bit shut. My lead wrist is pretty much as flexed as I can physically make it. And you're gonna see me hit a very poor shot here because this is just not my pattern. Here we go. We go from trail arm to lead arm with the weakest club face possible. That was actually hit so good for a guy that plays from a neutral to strong grip. All right, now instead of the hanger, you can always get a fancier training aid. This is about $8 off Amazon. It's called the Swing Guide. And all you do is you stick it right here on the golf club. Let's see if I can do this. You put it on the grip, and you can mess around with the position of it, but what you're gonna find is as you get more comfortable with it, you're gonna put it in the correct spot, and all you're trying to do is line up your lead wrist and the swing guide to match the club face at the top. So the strong grip, the weak grip, the neutral grip player can adjust it from side to side based on where they need that to go. Personally, I think the hanger and the swing guide are great tools, and I think if you give this 10-15 minutes a day of practice, I think you're gonna find that you're gonna get your wrist angles and your grip matched up just like a tour pro. So in review, our strong grip players need to make sure their trail hand's not too under the club. and their lead wrist is a little bit cupped at the top to match the club face in a neutral position. My neutral grip players are going to be flat to flat with a square club face. My weak grip players are probably going to have to get their lead wrist a little bit bent like this or bowed to make sure that club face is as square as possible at the top. So if you master your grip, train your wrist angles, you're going to be one step closer to playing your best golf. Now, if this video helped you, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. I literally answer every single one of them because I want to make sure you're playing your best golf all year long. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.